Okay, my wife is singing, y'all. Come on, y'all.
They don't want to hear that.
I remember how to do this. I think I've totally forgotten how to do this. Okay. Oh,
We
wow.
haven't been away that long.
It's like it's totally blanked out of my mind now. Turn this volume down. Hello, everybody. We're trying to get our act together. This is round 2.
Yes.
This is how bad it is. We missed 1 week and like totally out of it.
Yes, we're a little bit late.
Oh my gosh.
8:11.
Hello, everybody. We are here. We are back. And we were gone, of course, last week out of town and decided not to take all of our equipment with us.
No.
So we're back. You can call us. Put this right here.
Back.
Yeah. 9032.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Hello. You should try this.
Hello.
It's like, let's try this again. Okay. And they've changed things. So I'm still trying to figure out some of the stuff they keep changing around too. But welcome, everybody. We are back. This is Pam and David for Conversations with Pam and David. And we are actually looking forward to tonight's conversation because we got some interesting things to talk about.
Yes,
well, not that we don't usually have interesting things, but we have some really interesting things to talk about tonight, right?
Yes, we do.
So how's everybody doing? Hope you're coming online, trying to get this together to see who is coming on with us right now. I see a couple of people, a couple numbers. If you're there, say hello, let yourself be known. We want you to join us. And I'm trying again just to get this all figured out here. I think that's the screen that we're used to using. Modern technology. Okay, so hello, everyone. Did I say that already?
Yes, you did.
I did. Oh my gosh.
Yes, you said, we said hello.
We're back and we're here.
And we said that too.
Yeah. So I keep starting over, right?
Yes.
Because I'm still trying to scratch my head on some stuff behind the scenes. But we had a good week last week. We were out of town and had a good experience with some of the things that we did and got a little chance to rest.
Yes.
Before I got worn out again shopping, like for a whole day on the way back. Came back exhausted after sleeping for hours every day, getting nice and rested and recovered. So it was a good trip. Anyway,
it was
back.
It was needed. I needed to feel the pulse of New York City.
There you go. So you felt the pulse.
I felt the pulse.
The pulse was there. It was still pumping.
Yes. Right? I needed that.
And it was interesting because some interesting things happened while we're there that we'll talk about in just a minute. But first of all, how was your day today?
Interesting.
What
it
you
was
do today?
Interesting. Yes. Today we had Destiny Preparation Church Women's Department. We held our first women's event via Zoom.
Okay.
Yes. And it went very, very well. Evangelist Sandra Reed was our speaker, who is very dynamic. This is the second time that she has actually spoken into the Women of Destiny Preparation Church and anyone else that was online.
Yep.
The first time she spoke, it was actually in-house because COVID-19. Pre-COVID.
Right.
Yes. And so this time we did it Zoom and it went very well.
Good.
It went I am pleased.
Well, congratulations to everybody involved and all those who were on.
Yes.
There were people on from different cities and things.
Oh, yes,
I have to ask these questions because I was not allowed on because I am not a woman.
It was for women.
Right?
It was for women.
There was some kind of a bias in there. I'm just going to have to say that I was not allowed on. But nevertheless, so I have to ask these questions. So people were from various areas, right?
Oh, yes, exactly. Well, Rochester, of course. We had someone from New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico.
All right.
And also from Seattle.
Seattle, Washington.
Yes, Seattle, Washington.
And I heard you had somebody trying to get on from Ghana.
Yes. And my friend from Ghana, she was trying to get on. However, she wasn't able to get on.
Yeah.
And but next time.
A couple technical difficulties, but nevertheless, we're glad that people were able to join and looking forward to seeing that happen again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I think our women of Destiny Preparation Church, as they expressed, they got a lot out of it.
Good.
Out of the speaker, and they enjoyed her.
So you're gonna ask me how my day went?
Yes. How did your day go?
I am exhausted. We were working all day outside. This is like, we had to do some stuff at the church.
Yes.
And so me and some of the guys got out there and we did some cutting, some cleaning, and some getting some stuff straight. So that went really well. And everything looks pretty nice. Got a little bit more stuff to do, but made a lot of good ground there. Yeah. No pun intended. And then came home and worked on our yard.
Yes.
Finally, I have been spending so much time on everybody else's houses.
Oh my goodness. Don't even mention how many houses that we have had to deal. This is unbelievable. How many houses that we have had to deal with for how long, Dave?
I've been spending so much time. Everybody else, including God's house.
Dude. Yeah.
That this is the first chance I had to work on our house outside.
This has been something
And so
else.
I'm in pain. Right. Oh. I am clean because I did take a shower. Yes. I was not clean earlier. But I'm after this is over, I'm going to the bathtub and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to soak my pains away and we'll try it again tomorrow morning and see how that works.
Okay.
So it's been quite a day, busy day, but, got some good stuff done. It was a nice day.
Yes, it was a nice day.
It was hot. It wasn't quite as hot as it was. Right. Got a little bit of rain there. I honestly did not mind getting wet. So the rain came through. It wasn't a lot. No, it just came through and it kept going. But by then my energy level was kind of starting to go that way anyway. Okay. So we're all good. So we should talk. It's already 8:17 because we started late.
Yes.
And we got some interesting things to talk about today. Do. And I think the first one we kind of have to start. I mean, there's some things that you'd rather not talk about, but this is conversations and this is what we do.
Yes.
So a little bit of an elephant in the room here. So we had a situation this week here in Rochester with our mayor.
Yes.
And, quite disturbing thoughts. I remember I was actually, I think it was Thursday, and I was driving at the time listening to whatever, I think Wham. And there was like a breaking news report that the police were at the mayor's house executing a search warrant. And it's like, whoa, what is going on
What
now?
is really going on? Yes.
And so this goes on through the night, and then they find out it's a drug search warrant, and like, what is going on? And it just goes on deeper and deeper. Turns out it has to do something with her husband or strange husband.
Right.
A lot that we don't know. But the state police come in. And here's the thing. What I heard, what was reported, was that they didn't just tape off the area around her house. They taped off the whole block.
The whole block.
What did they think? They're expecting somebody to come running out? Or
what?
They taped off, and, I'm sure they taped it off after they already entered the house. Right. So, I don't know what they were taping off the whole block. So not only do they inconvenience the mayor and her house, and I only imagine how she felt hearing
could you
that this
imagine?
is all going on.
Exactly. And isn't this just before the primaries?
Coming up
just
in just
before
a few
the
weeks,
primaries,
right? So she wasn't there, right? So can you imagine when she gets a call
that your house is being raided?
At your house, and they've executed the search warrant, and they're going through all your stuff, and basically it was just her daughter that was there at the time, her younger daughter. And they're blocking off the whole block. What
the whole neighborhood,
in the world? I can't imagine how she felt with all that.
I know.
And why was it necessary to block off the whole block?
I don't get.
How many times do you see search warrants and they block off the whole block? Unless they think, usually if there's some kind of an actual altercation, somebody's got a gun, somebody's shooting,
right? Or somebody is dangerous, right?
Then you block up, but So anyway, there's a few things here, and the mayor went on record the day after to say that she's highly suspicious that there are a lot of political motivations.
Right, because like I said, it's just how many weeks before the primaries?
Before the primaries, and we know that in Rochester the primaries are the biggest thing because it's a Democrat area. So if you win the primary, you're really lined up to win the mayoralship.
Right.
Now,
and this is her second term.
It's her third term.
Her third term. Okay.
And
yes.
Okay. And there are other parties running, and there may be some opposition coming from that too, so forth. But these things, first of all, they don't look really good at all.
No.
In terms of the timing of this, what the Attorney General has said was that this was from a 7-month, I believe, operation, and it wasn't targeted at this point. It was targeted at somebody else. and the evidence led them back to her husband. And so they were really searching for him and tracing him. And this kind of led it to where it is. But it's just an
not good,
ugly situation.
It really is.
Yeah. And so I really feel bad for her. And it's interesting because the question is coming up now, is this bad for her? How bad is it for her? You know, is this going to impact how people vote?
Exactly. Well, that's the objective, is to impact how people vote.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's political or not, it's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Stuff like this is hard to prove.
It's, it's hard to prove, but it also, they want to taint her reputation.
You have Republicans essentially that are in the Attorney General's office, and, everything is political these days, regardless of what we like to think. And so the question is whether it really isn't. The real bottom line is, how is it going to impact the people who vote? Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that's being suggested now is that this actually may work for her versus against her, mm-hmm. because there's a narrative that has been coming out of how the police are abusive.
Yes.
Right. And the police are the enemy.
Yes.
And now they're coming against her,
mm-hmm.
and it makes it look like she's on the opposite side mm-hmm. of the police. Right. And, now there's also charges against her that were also served for, political issues with the money. Yes. From the last campaign. Mm-hmm. And so, she's been indicted for that. And now you have this coming up, and it's like it's piling on.
Exactly.
So the question, to some are saying it makes it look like she actually is more like us, like the real people, with, all this police harassment.
Right.
And that, they may be sympathetic and still vote for her anyway, and maybe even vote for more just to make it stick a thumb your nose or something at the police department. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I saw some news earlier today where they were showing some people who showed that kind of empathy, but you can't trust the news. I mean, they point to whoever they want to point to.
Yes, exactly. It will depend on which news network you're listening to as well. So
it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. If you guys have thoughts, Wanda says political sabotage.
Exactly.
Okay? So I was about to say, if you have thoughts on it, share them with us as to where you sit on this. You think it's real? Do you think, or do you think this is a setup? You think this is just a coincidence in terms of how things are? I mean, the problem, the one concern that we have to have is, good or bad, this is the mayor of Rochester. Mm-hmm. And Rochester is playing out in the national press, not just the mayor of Rochester. It's like the mayor of Rochester. Right?
Yes.
And so Rochester has had all these police issues, and Rochester has these issues with its mayor. It's a really bad look.
It is
for the city of Rochester
mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting rates in the city have been very extreme.
Yes,
most recently.
That's been very bad.
So you got all these public things that are coming out about Rochester, which is making it look like a pretty not great place to be right now.
Right.
So, it's not good. So, I sympathize with the fact that she's going through a lot. I mean, I can't even imagine the stress.
That has to be very, very stressful
mm-hmm.
on so many different levels.
That's a lot of pressure coming from all kinds of directions. So I'm impressed by the fact that she's tenacious enough to keep on keeping on for all this, because it would be easy to just say, you know what, I am going to bed. I'm putting my head under the pillow, and I'm not coming back out to see y'all mm-hmm. until this is over, because mm-hmm. I'm just done with this whole situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens, and we'll be monitoring and following, and everybody's going to have to make up their mind in terms of what they think. So let's jump real quick into a couple of these other things that are going on. Very, very big story that just came out about another death in Louisiana, the man by the name of Ronald Green. And, this apparently happened in 2019.
Exactly.
But, this is one of those situations where the family has been pressing to try and get access to the video footage. Because the story that they were told, this was a man, by the way, it was a barber. It was not a drug addict, anything like that. He was a barber. He was going on his way home. Mm-hmm. And they get a message that he was in a car crash that killed him. And apparently there's a traffic violation. And so the police were behind him. And apparently, according to them, he wouldn't stop. He had a car crash. And they said initially that he died on impact from the car crash.
That's what they said.
but now the video footage has come out.
Yes.
And the story has definitely changed. There's a lot more to the story. You know probably more about this than I do. Share what you know.
Well, no, I basically is what you just said. And they actually, the videos actually show that this man, my goodness, that the police really used excessive force and that they actually murdered him.
Yeah.
That the video actually shows a police officer stepping on him. And also the same situation where they had him placed on his stomach in what they call the prone position. And they did not and would not turn him over on his back. And they told him to stay there like that.
And he had been in this accident. So he actually was bleeding from the accident.
Exactly. And oh my goodness, the video shows where he was beaten in the head. There's lacerations in his head. They actually drug him. All of it drug him physically, they dragged him. And while all of this happened and occurred while he was handcuffed.
Yeah. And on top of that, not only what they did, they tased him several times.
Yes.
And some of the comments that were made here. So I haven't seen this video footage. You may have seen it, but here's some of the things that came out in the New York Times about the story. I'll give you a quick overview of how they described it. Said in the clips published by the AP covering more than 2 minutes, Mr. Green is seen being jolted again with a stun gun while lying handcuffed on the ground. Why do you need to tase somebody who's handcuffed on the ground, injured from a crash?
Exactly.
And apparently tased multiple times. Right? Says the AP reported that the troopers who were white left Mr. Green lying face down and moaning for more than 9 minutes.
Yes.
And they wipe blood from their hand as they wipe blood from their hands.
Right.
Right? Because he's bleeding and they're just taking care of their own little personal hygiene.
Yes. And actually, they also said, I hope this guy doesn't have AIDS. That there was so much blood.
Heard to say on the video with an explicitive with it.
Right.
It says the video from several minutes later shows Mr. Green limp, unresponsive, and bleeding from his head and face. And he is then seen being loaded onto an ambulance gurney with his arms cuffed to a bed rail, according to AP. It says one body camera video that the state police later released. A trooper can be heard saying that he beat Mr. Green using an expletive. Listen, quotes, choked him and everything else, trying to get him under control. How under control do you have to get somebody in handcuffs who's been in a car crash and is on the ground? After Mr. Green was in handcuffs, the trooper says he was still fighting and so he's fighting on the ground, wrestling, trying to hold him down because he was spitting blood all everywhere. Because he was in a car accident. And then all of a sudden he just went limp. Yeah, the trooper continues, I thought he was dead. There's a statement up here also that says that while he was down there, he says, Mr. Green, they heard him scream, I'm sorry, I'm scared. And they're talking about he's fighting them.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. This could actually be a story that is even more extreme than George Floyd.
Exactly.
This is going to be one to watch as well, not only because of what happened, but because of how things are treated state to state and how the laws are written state to state. We've talked many, many times about the fact that we need some kind of a national approach to this, but the laws are written different in every state.
Yes, they are.
Some states give more allowance and some states give less allowance.
Right.
So not only what is on the video, not only what was done, but how the law in the state of Louisiana justifies or does not justify this is going to be serious to watch.
It is.
It's going to be, another one of these cases, and it's going to bring out all these things that we keep saying. There are all these discrepancies from state to state and how these things happen, how things are treated, et cetera, so forth and so on. Now, on the other side of this, New York State has just proposed a new law. The Attorney General, Letitia James, has a new law that was just proposed this week. And that law would require policemen to only use physical force as a last resort. That now, not just deadly force. Physical force,
right?
Could only be used as a last resort. They would have to. Hello, Nita. They would have to, basically do all these other things first before they resort to physical. So you can't just haphazardly just decide, you know what, I'm gonna beat this dude down.
Well, that's what they've been doing,
right?
And that's what they have gotten away with, and that's why they continue to do so.
This is a real challenge because even that last resort is going to have some,
Yes, it's going to be like it's going to be a slippery slope.
Yeah, I had to do it. I had no other choice.
You'll find some reason.
That's why people, they've already, you have, like, for example, the stand your ground laws that said, hey, I was threatened. I felt like my life was in danger. So therefore I just had to shoot him 16 times. Right. So even with what you put in, one of the things that Letitia James was saying, Attorney General of New York State was saying, was that there are so many things written in the laws that protect police officers that it's very difficult to prosecute police officers, even when what they have done would seemingly be blatantly
obviously wrong. Right.
And so there are protections surrounding them doing their job, surrounding them, having the right to make mistakes, et cetera, so forth and so on. So this law not only says you have to use this as a last resort, it also puts in penalties if they abuse that rights and those decisions.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with some of these laws being put in place and with the possibility of police officers being held accountable, hopefully it will curtail the officers from using deadly force or from, actually killing people.
Well, you would hope so, right?
We would hope that would happen.
Especially since now they're saying that, they are at risk of being held accountable.
Well, yeah, that's right? What I'm saying. Yes.
But now here's the opposite side of it, because what's going to happen, right? The police groups are coming together to fight this already.
Right.
One of the things they're saying, and think about this for a moment, one of the things they're saying is that, look, this puts police officers in a position where they have to think multiple times before they take an action. And if they hesitate too long, it could lead to somebody dying. And so that's the argument they're making.
Yes.
But honestly, the reality is, don't you want them to think twice before they shoot somebody?
Yes.
I mean, it's obviously there's a thought process they have to go through before they make a decision like that. Like the young lady, the situation that happened, I forget where it was a few weeks ago, where the young girl was about to stab the other girl.
Yes.
And the police officer comes up and he sees this happen. He has to make a split decision.
Yes.
Right?
I understand.
It is part of the job. And so he has to decide, what am I going to do? This girl is raising back like she's going to jam this
plunge.
shot, right?
Yes.
And so what options do I have? Can I get to my taser? Can I, I've already telling her to stop. Can I run over? I don't have enough time. Do I pull and do I fire? There is a rapid paced decision process they have to go through. And I don't envy them at all, by the way. I wouldn't want to be in that
I would
position.
not want to be an officer right now.
But now what again, the opposition is saying is, because of this, nobody's going to want to be a police officer because, and think about it, from their position, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this for the next, 20 years. How likely, and I got to wear body camera footage that's on for everything I do. How likely is it that I'm going to make a mistake sometime in the next 20 years, right? Now think about this on your job, right? Whatever job you have, how likely is it that you're going to go through the next 20 years on your job and never make a mistake?
It's not. That's almost
now,
impossible.
in their case, these mistakes are much more impactful.
They are deadly.
Right. Whatever happens, the impact could be. So there is a higher level. I mean, if you work on a higher level position, like you work on top of, if you're working on skyscrapers, right?
Yes.
30 stories up.
Yes.
A mistake can
happen.
Critical.
Yes. There's a very high probability that you could fall.
So you can't make mistakes. So you have to have redundant systems. If I'm flying an airplane and I make a mistake, a lot of people could die, right?
Yes.
So you have redundant systems, et cetera, so forth and so on. So I honestly, I think it has to be part of the job to make the right decision. But this is why they have these laws set up to protect them, because they can make a wrong decision.
Oh, very easily.
But I'm like, but there's a difference between, okay, I made a wrong decision and I beat this guy for 10 minutes.
Exactly. And you say this.
Right.
You're speaking this. You're saying, I beat him every kind of way.
We took him down, man. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a gray area, but there is definitely two opposite ends.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And if we're not at least curbing or have a way to curb this extreme behavior.
It was very extreme. And to watch the video and actually see the officer step on him. I mean, just step on him.
Right.
Like, I mean, he just dehumanized this man.
So, I think that honestly is part of it, because the approach as we see in some of these videos with some of these people,
they're not viewing them as
dehumanizing.
Exactly. They're not even, it's like they're not even seeing this individual as a person.
Right. Even the one that happened here, can't remember his name all of a sudden. Daniel Prude. I can't remember D.
Yes.
The biggest problem that I had in that was not the specific action that the policeman did, but the callousness. Thank you. That's the word. The callousness of just watching a naked man on the ground with snow falling and just having him down. That, whether you say they did something right or wrong, to treat someone like that, as someone who's supposed to serve and protect the people, as someone who was called to help in a situation with a man that was out of control for various reasons, for mental breakdown, to just callously treat somebody and not even get a blanket. No. Come on, man. No. I mean, this is bad. There's got to be accountability for those kind of behaviors. There's got to be some extreme. And this is what it comes back to with this case in Louisiana. Because if the law in Louisiana allows this behavior and says somehow this is protected behavior, then something is not right.
Well, something hasn't been right for many, many, many years. It's just now that we have video cameras. It has been really exposed since we were on quarantine during the COVID pandemic. It's just that it now has more exposure. And so now it needs to be addressed, because, what are you going to say? What you're seeing in this video, don't believe your lying eyes? Well, they've said that many times. They've said it many times. When they choked out the dude in New York, everybody saw it on camera, choking him out. And they're like, hey, we're not responsible. Dude was resistant, right? You go all the way back to what's his name? King in Rodney King,
California. Right, yeah. Can we all just get along? Right? I mean, we've been watching this stuff. And, clearly the videos are better, they're longer, they're clearer. The body camera is more direct, actions, there's more, but, there's a law and prudence and what the court systems will allow. The court system starts with what's written in the law. It goes to the attorney general and how they interpret it to prosecute. And then it goes to the court system in terms of the actual judge and the juries, and how they will or will not hold these things accountable. Now, we've seen this process through the North in Minneapolis. We're about to see this in the South in Louisiana.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting to see, again, when you have something on video this blatant, how this is going to be treated by the court system of Louisiana.
We will see.
So we'll definitely be watching. Obviously, this will be going on for a while as well.
It will be a case, but look at what we had to go through with the George Floyd case to actually get this man convicted.
Oh, man.
And
still ongoing, right?
It's still ongoing.
And the other thing we said, by the way, that's happening now is that the feds are starting to get directly involved.
Yes.
Which we haven't seen over the past several years, right? But the feds now have leeway to get directly involved. And so they're treating some of these as crimes, as hate crimes, as things like this, as abuse of civil rights, things like that. And so, which, by the way, many of those charges have longer prison times than some of these other things, second degree and third degree murder and all that. These hate crimes charges, these charges for, abuse of civil rights. Those things have 25 to life type stuff.
Exactly.
So when the feds step into these now, it really amps things up.
It does.
Another level.
Yes, it does.
So now you go back, just want to go back one more time to this opposition saying, hey, people are not signing up to be police officers nearly as much now. People are afraid, they don't want to be put in that kind of, pressure situation, held accountable for anything they might do or mistakes they might make, blah, blah, blah. So, there's a couple ways to look at that. First of all, maybe we've got some people who are the right people or the wrong people now who are not signing up, right? Because they don't need to be in those kind of positions anyway.
No.
Hopefully you have people that are going to be in those positions for the right reasons.
Right.
And so this could cause a transition. We've talked a few times, like with your brother, about, a transition in the police department overall, not just a matter of resizing it.
A complete overhaul.
Yep.
Yes, as my brother termed, draining the swamp.
Drain the swamp. Your brother and a few others.
That would be, yes.
But, out with the old, in with the new.
Yes.
You're not only changing the police force in terms of its size and training, but it may be perhaps a different type of people that are there for different reasons.
Right, exactly.
Because there's certainly a mentality when you look at stuff like what some of these folks are saying, and there's others. There was another one that was on recently where they caught what these folks were saying about, yeah, man, I caught him and I beat him down. And I mean, they have this mindset and attitude there that they're there to be the mafia, right? It sounds more like mafia conversation than police.
Serve and protect.
Right. We had to do the right
Doesn't
thing.
Sound
we protected
like that.
Somebody from the harm of this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, we busted him up. We got him good.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the mindset you want in your police officers.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot still more to see exactly where these things are going to take us. Kyle, thank you for all the comments that you have. We have more on this. We're happy to hear about it.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that people are saying right now.
Last resort. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really an important point because they're always going to claim, hey, I had no other choice, right? And there's some of those things are going to be debatable for a lot of different reasons. A lot of that goes back again to training in terms of what does it mean to be in last resort. And if they can go back to the laws or the rules of what they were trained on and said, look, according to how I was trained, thus, right? Then that is that's going to support the behavior, right? So you do have to change the kind of rules around the system, that guide the system, which changes the training, which changes how we need to do things in order to hopefully, make something different. So there's a question out here. Do you think that they came with that mindset? In other words, the policemen that are coming into service, or was it an onset? I think there's both. I would think. I think that both. It attracts a certain type of person. Exactly. And if you're not careful, you're attracting the wrong type of person because you're basically you have somebody who's mad and wants to be able to punk somebody, and you're giving them a legal right. Right. Like Derek Chauvin really kind of fits that kind of a bill from what has been told about him. A guy that liked to hurt people, didn't mind hurting people. Exactly. Right. Especially certain people. Yes. And, so you give that person a badge and a gun now, and you empower them to take out of what is inside of them. And then you have the second side of it, because you have a Derek Chauvin in that position, in a lead position, now training people under him. Exactly. To follow this behavior. Exactly. And so they may not have come in that way, but by the time they get done experiencing and exposing. And being trained. Right. And this is the way we do it. This is how we do it. And it becomes, how you got to treat them. This is how you treat them. And it becomes a culture. Yep. It's a policing culture. And you either fit or you don't. You either fit or you don't. And, it could be dangerous for an officer, then they could be considered a whistleblower should they turn in their fellow officer. And they have been threatened, their whole families, so it's really not a good situation. So now with some of the laws that are coming in now, remember we talked about this in the past, that they're going to hold people accountable for what they see and observe, even if it's not them. Exactly. Right. It's like all of the officers that were there when in the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd situation, the officers that were there are being held accountable as well. They're actually being charged. There's an accountability across the board now. Because you have to, if you are there, you have to try and do something to stop that officer from harming or killing a civilian. Therefore, you also become guilty by association. Right, exactly. Which would be the case, by the way, in any other criminal charge, right? Exactly. If I'm in the car with these three guys and the three guys decide to rob the bank, guess what? I'm in the car. You just became a bank robber. How you like that? Exactly. Right? Or you're a teenager and you're in a stolen car with some friends and you don't know the car was stolen. Right, you don't even know. You don't even know, but you were there. You're guilty by
by association.
They saw you walking as they were driving past and offer you a ride.
Exactly.
You got in the car. Thanks, guys, for the ride.
For the ride.
And then the police come up behind you.
Exactly.
Right? What's wrong? What did we do? Were we speeding?
Were we speeding?
No, you are in
a stolen vehicle.
Car and you're all going to jail. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Right? Oh, and by the way, you got cocaine up in the front seat.
Exactly.
You're going to go to jail for that too.
You're going down too.
You got what? So the rules play that way on the criminal basis, and now those things are being applied. So there are a lot of things that are being squeezed in on police officers. So there is inherently here a new dynamic to policing.
Yes.
And I think one of the things you can acknowledge is that the old school police force does not like that aspect of change.
No, because you know what? They need things, or they would like things to remain the same because they remain in power. And that's what it is. It's a power and control issue. And
they want to be able to do, in other words, as you're saying, what the way they are used to doing it, comfortable with doing it.
Yes.
They don't want to be restricted. They want the judgment call to be on their end. And they then have the ability to decide who they think really deserves the beating versus which ones don't. Right. And so
unfortunately, it's people of color.
Right. So to begin to constrain the police force in the ways that honestly should have happened a long time ago, frankly, because we don't even want to go into where all this culture of policing comes from.
Right.
But you have to change the culture. You have to constrain some of these allowances. You have to put this accountability, and some people are not going to like that. So if they do see, the number of people coming in and that are signing up or going through testing to go down, it will hopefully mean that there is a transition in the type of people that are coming in.
Right.
And some of the other people that are there, like with some of these other jobs, if they can retire early, they're going to retire early. They don't want to be under this this police force is just so weak, and now we're so out of control, and they're going to leave.
Right.
Right. And so that's honestly, I think, one of the objectives you want to achieve is, in essence, force them out.
Right.
And say, look, I can't do this here anymore. I can't do this job. So guess what? I'm leaving. Great.
Right. So we'll hire some new people and train them differently.
New mindset, new training.
That's
new mindset, new training.
Exactly.
And so now you are able to transition the police force into a new ideology. Right. So I think it's really necessary.
It is.
The pressure just keeps amping up, and the pressure again is coming from all these videos, from all this evidence, from all these repeated stories. I said a couple weeks ago, and people didn't quite understand what I was saying, that the press is biased right now because they get on a case that is good news and they start pumping it over and over again. And right now that's playing out to the advantage of this situation because every time the press are hearing about any story like this, they are all over it nationwide.
Yes.
And so that redundancy of seeing this same thing happening again and again and again. The reason I say this is because it's not like this stuff didn't happen in the past.
Exactly.
Right? Probably happened even more in the past.
Exactly.
But every time it comes up anywhere in the country, it is instantly a national story, and everybody hears it again and again and again. And some of these cases play out for like 2 years from the time they happen to the time the video footage comes out to the time somebody gets arrested, goes to court, goes to jail. George Floyd situation has been a year. That's fast in the court systems.
Yeah, that is very fast. I agree with that. It was very obvious. It was obvious. I think that's why it went so quickly. And also,
but like this case is from 2019.
Had he not been convicted, we would have had a terrible uprising. Oh Lord!
Yeah, it would have been ugly.
Oh my goodness, they would have. There would have been an uprising on the ship.
But that's why
on the ship.
You got the feds stepping in to apply charges and make sure charges are applied to try and help balance the courts. I tell you, this Louisiana case is going to be real interesting.
It is. It is going to be anyone that has not seen this video, take time to watch the video. It is awful.
Yep.
It is awful.
And so to see how this is treated in Louisiana, in a state like Louisiana in the South, is going to be very interesting to watch. We'll be watching that, paying attention. So, just changing the subject one last time here before we go. One thing that happened last week while we were gone is a major change in recommendations to masking, to mask or not to mask, right?
Mask, yes.
When we left to go to New York, everybody was in masks.
Yes.
And it was funny because we were in New York City, and like one day we're walking down the street, everybody's in masks.
Yes.
And you're kind of at this point adjusted, everybody's wearing masks. And all of a sudden this announcement comes out, and the next day people don't know what to do.
Right.
Do we take them on? Do we take them off? So just to be clear, the announcement again, if you were vaccinated, this came out from the CDC as a recommendation.
Right.
It took kind of over the weekend for states like New York and a couple of others to really accept that. Some went right into it, right? We dropping all masks everywhere, Texas, right?
Well, they were anti-masks to begin with,
right?
Yes.
But the ruling as it states right now is if you have been fully vaccinated, that means you've had the full number of shots, one with Johnson & Johnson, 2 with the others, and you're 2 weeks past your final shot. You're fully vaccinated. You no longer are required to wear a mask outdoors or indoors.
Right.
They're saying, in essence, the probability of you either getting the disease or sharing the disease is so low that you're safe, you're good. So I don't know about you, when they announced that the other day, I was like, what? And they come back, and we were sitting in a restaurant watching this announcement.
Yes.
And I'm watching and listening to the explanations behind it. And they're like, we just got all this data that just came in from these studies, and these studies, we're confident now that these things, and it said, I'm fully vaccinated and still wearing my mask.
Yes.
I'm with you. We're going to get there in a minute.
Yes.
Yes, Anita.
But I'm still wearing mine.
But so the announcement came out, and I'm watching, and they're like, we got all this information, and this information validates the low probability, low risk. We have all these research. So we're saying, as of this point, the shock effect of that announcement.
Just hearing that.
At that moment.
We're like, what?
After we've been so long now saying, wear a mask, you need to wear a mask, the safest thing to do, you got to wear a mask, everybody should wear a mask. And this comes out like this, and it just throws everybody.
It really does.
It threw the state governments.
Yes.
They were like, wait a minute, hold on. We gotta get back. We'll get back to you on this. No, because it so curbed everything. And I saw an interview, I think it was on Monday, with the CDC director on the news. And they were like, you just told us like 2 days before
to continue wearing your mask.
We must continue wearing masks. And you come out like 2 days later saying, hey, you guys, we're good. You're vaccinated. Take those masks
off.
Free at last. Go home.
No.
And so it was like, thought my hearing was bad. It was like, what is going on? I have to be totally honest. When I first saw and heard it, to me, I immediately felt this is a ploy to try and get people to get vaccinated. Because the emphasis was, if you've been vaccinated, you can take those masks off and you can live your life normal again. No. So everybody should go get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason it came out was not as much to relieve everybody of the concern. And because they had just gotten this data, I think it was a ploy, an attempt to incentivize more people to go get vaccinated. Because if you get vaccinated, then you can live your life normal again. But honestly, I think this booby trapped on them. I think this worked backwards on them, because the concept was, go ahead and get your vaccine, and then you'll be able to go maskless. But what they didn't really think about is people who didn't want the vaccine. There's no accountability system to say who's vaccinated and who's not. So if I don't want to get vaccinated and I don't want to wear a mask, don't ask, don't tell. Right.
And
I just stay wearing the mask and I ain't saying nothing.
That's not a good situation.
Yeah. So
because suppose someone can have a coronavirus and be asymptomatic.
Right.
And I still don't trust anything, because yes, we're fully vaccinated. However, we don't know enough about coronavirus to say that someone that has it still cannot pass it.
Well, they're saying a lot of things, like in Sister Myra, I don't know if Sister Myra's on, who's a nurse. We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that they're learning now more and more that people who've got the vaccine are still catching the virus.
You can get the virus, it's just not deadly.
Right. Now that is a very great perk. I mean, that is a reason to get vaccinated.
Right.
Because the impact of it to symptoms and to the impact to you is clearly, I think that's clear.
Yes.
That it's much less severe if you are vaccinated.
That's right.
So that is a strong reason to get vaccinated.
Exactly.
However, the issue here now is you've opened up a Pandora's box to people who didn't want to get vaccinated. And now they're just like, hey, I can take my mask off. Nobody knows, because they're not stopping you at the door.
No, they're not checking.
If you're checked,
right.
to check. They're not, in some cases, not asking
so then
you.
that will keep the virus will continue to spread,
circulate
to other people that did not take the vaccination.
Right. And so here's the problem that we're going to have to watch to see what's going to happen in terms of these virus cases, because you have now, especially now, more so in areas where less people have been vaccinated. Think about it. That's where it's really going to be a mess.
Right.
If less people got vaccinated anyway. And so now you've got all these people who are just going to go out with their masks anyway. Like Texas, again, they said for everybody, forget it. We're done with masks, right? So now amongst those people, you are re-exposing them to the same thing that got us started in this
in the first
from
place.
The very beginning.
Exactly.
So now on the bright side, this is where we stand today, right? The virus levels are definitely going down.
Yes.
Right? This is looking at the whole country. This is from where we were first of the year, December, January, about our peak. The virus levels have definitely and continue to go down. So they are taking actions to release things, and they were doing so gradually, which was kind of okay, right? In New York State, by the way, we're seeing the same. For those of us who are here in New York, it's going down, right? One thing I want to note to our local audience, for those who are here in the Rochester area, when you look at the state, we are still amongst the highest county in the state. As of last week, we're in the top 3 counties in the state. We're now in like 5 or 6, but we haven't changed. The others have changed. There's a few around that have jumped up. One county was at almost 7%. We have been around 3%, and you can see we went down, but instead we came back up. And we've been pretty stable around 3% now for a good period of time, over a month and a half.
Right.
We have not gone down. Even though we have about 50% of the people who have taken at least their first shot. And so that means the virus is still around here.
Yes, it's still lingering.
Particularly for those who have not been vaccinated, you need to understand the virus is still hanging around.
Right.
And you can still catch it, and it can still be as problematic to you as it has been in the past.
Right.
So the virus levels have gone down, but we still have to be cautious. Again, I think, I'll say this. It's been about a week now. On the side of those of us who have been vaccinated, you and I have been fully vaccinated for several weeks now. Outside, I feel a lot more comfortable.
Yes.
Right? If I'm outside, even around people with social distancing and vaccination, I'm a lot more comfortable taking a mask off and being around people. In situations where I know people have been vaccinated,
right,
I'm comfortable.
Right.
We're starting to have some meetings now. You've been vaccinated, right? Okay, we all been vaccinated here. We can take our masks off. But still, in general public, where you don't know what the status of everybody, et cetera, so forth.
Still wearing a mask.
I don't know. I ain't ready for that yet.
No.
Right? In closed cars with somebody, I don't know your status. I've been vaccinated, but I'm still wearing a mask.
I'm still wearing my mask.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think, honestly, we needed this gradual change. So why they did this so quickly and so out of the blue, I think it was very unwise. Now, let me show you one other thing. The vaccination rates have dropped off. Beginning of April was the maximum of the vaccination rate.
Yes.
And since then, it's dropped off. When you look at what's happening now in terms of the vaccine, we have about 40, almost 50% of the total population have had their first dose. That number has not changed much. I think it was like 47% about a week ago. Most of what the people that are getting vaccines right now are the people that are getting their second shot. You're not getting a lot of new people in the system.
Wow.
And so this thing is slowing way down. By the time people get their second shot, we're really going to see that I believe that these people, again, that did not want to get vaccinated anyway, they're just, oops, I'm sorry, I went too far. People that didn't want to get vaccinated anyway, they're just not getting vaccinated. And they're not going to. Now, of course, they're doing all these kind of incentive programs to try and convince people to go ahead and get the vaccine, right? They got a lotto for $1 million going on Ohio. I think we move in Ohio, by the way. We're gonna get a residence or something. Yeah, $1 million for people to get the shot there. They're giving away lotto tickets here now in New York State, I think, to get your shots here. They got all this stuff going on. Now they got to pay people to get the shot, right? So it's crazy, you know. So I don't know. You know, I think it was very premature. I think they had a strategy. I think the strategy backfired on them. And you know, unfortunately, I think it does leave us at risk as a community, as a society. We still need to encourage people to get vaccinated, because the problem is that a lot of this stuff can come back. And so we'll be watching these charts to see if we see a return to an escalation again, especially now summer, warmer weather, people outside.
Yes.
Do we go through this again? You know, we're gonna have to watch these numbers and really see what happens.
Yeah.
So to mask or to not to mask, that's up to everybody else. But you know, hey, bottom line is, I'm still in support of the vaccine. A lot of people still have a lot of concerns about it for a lot of different reasons. I was talking to somebody the other day who has very extreme health allergy issues, and they're allergic to everything that they take for these kind of vaccines tends to give them allergies. So they're probably not like a candidate. That person is going to have to continue to live with masks and continue to live with social distancing indefinitely until hopefully this thing fully gets under control.
Wow.
So we shall see what happens. People, be careful. You know, guard yourself, protect yourself, guard your neighbor.
Yes.
You know, there's a scripture about that somewhere. It says something about love your neighbor as you love yourself.
As you love yourself, exactly.
And I don't think we're doing real well with that.
I don't think we have.
This virus has showed us where we stand in terms of concerns about other people.
Yes, very. We have very inconsiderate, selfish people in the world.
So it's a little disappointing.
It is.
So, you know, I think our time is about up here. I think we've done our job for the day.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody's enjoyed it, learned some stuff, shared some things. Thanks for all those who have said hello and commented, etc. For those who catch this later, hope this is informative to you. We got a great comment just last week from someone who said, you know, I don't always get to watch the show live, but I watch it ever. He said, what you guys are doing, you know, is really great and it's very useful. And we'd love to hear that from you from time to time. If this is helpful and a good thing, you know, we appreciate the input and the feedback, because there is work involved with doing this. There's labor sacrifice, and we don't do it certainly for ourselves. We do it to share information, have the right conversation, and give you the opportunity to have a conversation that perhaps you need to have. So thank you for everybody joining. One last thing I got to do before we leave, I got to say happy birthday to my daughter, my oldest daughter, who is years old today. I don't think I'm allowed to tell, but this is a big one. But I don't think I'm allowed to tell. But happy birthday to her all day.
Happy birthday, Deanne.
We are so happy for you and growing on and going on and doing your thing and handling your business and doing what you got to do.
I like that. I like what I see. Yes, we're proud of you.
So have a great birthday. It's almost, you got a few hours left. You're still good. And I'll try and call you before it's over as well. Thank you, everybody. Happy birthday, Deanne. Thank you, everybody. You have a good night. And we'll look forward to seeing you again on our next round of this, which will be next Saturday.
Next Saturday, same time, same place.
In the meantime, we'll be on tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. By the way, shout out to all. Hey, Brother Hobbs, man. Good to see you, man. It's been a long time. I want to give a shout out to all of our folks in Kenya.
Yes.
We got several people in Kenya we've been connecting up with, and other areas as well.
Yes.
So
Ghana and Liberia. Yes. Hello.
So I want to say hello to all of those folks. They're asleep now probably, but they'll catch this tomorrow. And we'll look forward to catching up with everybody tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. We're talking about Pentecost. Tomorrow's Pentecost Sunday. So if you don't understand what that's all about, then please join us tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. And we will be sharing with you, continuing on that, along with the Holy Spirit on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And next Friday is our Friday night prayer, fourth Friday night prayer. So 7:30 p.m. on Friday night. If you have a prayer request this week, don't hesitate to send it to us, And we will be praying for all those prayer requests next Friday night. God bless you. Everybody have a good night. I'm headed to the bathtub. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the first part of this. And we're going to do that. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good night. We'll
have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay.